Okay, today is Monday, December 1st, 7 p.m. in the second floor conference room. This is the City of Brainerd Personnel Finance Committee meeting, and we'll call it to order. Start with introductions.
Kelly Bevins, Brainerd City Council, Ward 2.
Nick Royal, City Administrator.
John Davis, Police Chief.
Connie Hillman, Finance Director.
Gabe Johnson, Chair of the Committee. We have 4 items in front of us, the first of which is an updated animal control contract. Connie or John? Nick.
I can start it, and
Yeah.
John can fill in the gaps. I'll start it though. City's current animal control contract expires at the end of the year. What you see before you tonight is a proposed 3-year contract. It will be for 26, 27, and 28. John did a great job working with Mike O'Brien to negotiate a lot of issues. Mike was asking kind of for the moon initially. John did a great job negotiating a lot of these finer points with him. So this agreement that you're seeing has been reviewed and approved by the police chief and our city attorney. So we would recommend a motion to move to approve the 3-year animal control contract with the Lakes Area Animal Control. You can see the dollar amounts are in there. In 25, just for reference, 25 it was $32.63. 26 it's 33.61, then 34.62, then 35.67, and that's per month. Just to give you some context of what it currently is and what the proposal is for the next 3 years. Scope of services are all listed, and I can try to answer any questions. John did most of the negotiating for this, but we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Yeah, and those seem like reasonable cost increases. I think Mike does a good job. He's professional. Every time we get to host him in a council meeting, which luckily isn't too often.
Those are some of the most difficult meetings, right, that these are solitaries. But I have no questions and I move to approve.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Next up is an approved updated misdemeanor prosecution services. Nick.
All right, this is similar in some ways to the last one. Our misdemeanor prosecution agreement with Severson Porter ends at the end of the year. They have been good. They have only increased their cost of the contract for the CPI for the Midwest region. It does have a floor and a ceiling, so there's a minimum of 1% increase with a ceiling of 3% increase every year. Just to provide some context, in 23 it was 220, and there was a 3% CPI, so it was 226.6, and 24, 25 was a 2.9% CPI for 233 and some change, and in 2026 we're anticipating a 2.7% CPI for a total of 237,583. 27 and 28 obviously are not one of the numbers for those yet, because they'll be based off a CPI for the Midwest region. But this is for a 3-year contract from 1 January 26 to 31 December 28. This is going to be contingent, if the council approves this tonight, this is contingent upon an agreed upon joint services agreement with Baxter and Nisswa. I gave their city administrator in Baxter. I don't think they have a city administrator right now, but Todd Szymanski is the police chief there. I sent it to Todd, so they're reviewing this right now, but this would be contingent upon a subsequent agreement between us and those 2 cities. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Mr. Chair, the only thing, we see the cost, but we usually get to see revenues as well.
So this is no longer based on revenues?
I understand that, but we do get revenue from misdemeanor prosecution, correct?
It comes from the state court system, so it's not really related. We talked about this one time, if it was related to the number of court prosecution, and Severson Porter said it's really not.
It's
So-
not, but it would be interesting.
It'd be interesting to see it.
Yeah, because, and it would be interesting, and I know we don't have an agreement in place right now with Baxter and Nisswa, but it would be interesting to see the percentage, like how many levy dollars are we putting towards this? Because we can offset with our average court.
And that'll come off with,
recovery.
I think that would be on the next agenda, honestly, we can share that at the next meeting.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
I move to approve.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Let's move to the next item, which is the non-working funds budgets. Take it away, Connie.
So in addition to the working funds, which are the general public safety, parks and streets, the council has historically adopted budgets for other funds: transit, library, recycling, city parking lots, permanent improvement, mayor contingency, EDA, and then the enterprise funds of sanitary and storm sewer. Included in the packet are the current proposed budgets for all those funds other than the library and EDA. The EDA is meeting on December 4th, and the 2026 budget is on the agenda, and the library fund will not be adopted until the first meeting in January, as the next library board meeting is December 17th. I think with the changeover in the librarian, it kind of slipped through the cracks, to be perfectly honest with you, so. And it won't be an issue adopting the library the first meeting of January, I think we've done that before. So this item is on the agenda for council review and discussion of the budgets prior to their potential adoption at the December 15th council meeting. So the recommended action is just to review and discuss the proposed budgets as presented, and I can answer any questions.
I have no questions.
Neither do I, so this, you don't want an approval?
No, I think that we can approve all the budgets at the next council meeting, unless you want to adopt these right now, it's up to you.
No, we can adopt it all as one budget. Yeah. Okay, then, well, that'll bring us to the last item, discussion of the 2026 operating budget and levy.
All right. So the city council set the preliminary levy at $7,666,013, which is an 8% increase over the 2025 levy. And the preliminary levy is what's used to send out the preliminary tax statements to residents in November. As you know, the final levy and budget for the general fund need to be set by December 31st. The final levy can be lower, but not higher than the preliminary levy. Staff gave an update at the last council meeting, and the levy was 8.17% increase over the 2025 levy. Staff noted the changes in the budget since that time in the agenda request. As a result of the updates, the levy for 2026 could be $7,434,915, or a 7.74% increase. 4.74.
You said 7.74.
I transposed a number, my worst nightmare. Sorry, 4.74% increase over the levy, which is $336,700. You know, she is a little bit. Over the 2025 levy, that's shown on the levy recap. The preliminary levy has been lowered by approximately $231,000. And of this, 57%, over 57% of this amount is a result of the city's favorable workers' comp renewal rates, assumed changes to the general liability insurance, and changes in the employee health insurance elections for 2026. Per the council's direction, the council president, P&F chair, city administrator, and finance director met on Thursday, November 20th. We went over the changes mentioned in the agenda requests that were made at that time. The council president and P&F chair also recommended the following items be made to the proposed capital budget. Move the $200,000 city hall bathroom remodel from 26 to 27, and remove the $784,000 that was in the budget for the public works garage. This item was from the 2018-2019 study that was done by WSN.
And never adopted by the council to be implemented.
True. Staff detailed what was involved in the project in the agenda request, and it would be staff's recommendation to reinstate the $784,000 for the public works garage. As a side note, there's nothing in the 2026 budget for the potential sale of Gustafson Park. As one, the council has not made a decision, and two, it is unlikely that any proceeds from any potential sale would be received in 26. Several documents were included in the packet for council review. There was an overview of general fund budgets, which includes parks, and this was a levy of $7,435,323. The 2026 capital budget, which excludes the $784,000 for the public works garage, but it does include parks, and then an overview of the parks budget. The budget public hearing is scheduled for Monday, December 8th at 6 p.m. The reason for the budget public hearing is to allow citizens to learn about the city's budget and levy, and a chance for citizens to provide input. If the city council would like to have more discussion on the budget and levy, staff can add another agenda item to the December 8th meeting for additional council discussion. Another option would be to set a separate meeting. Staff is really looking for 3 recommendations tonight. Discussion on the $784,000 for the public works garage. There's no effect on the overall levy. The amount to be used at the public hearing, budget public hearing, and then direct staff to use that same amount in the resolution to be presented at the December 15th meeting to set the 2026 levy. And this is where I realized I made a typo. This is not $4,735,000, that should be $7,435,000. Again, that is my nightmare. The amount of the levy for the public hearing and the resolution can be 8% or below. The lowest staff would recommend the levy for 2026 would be the $7,435,323, which is a 4.75% increase, or $337,163 over $337,163 over the 2025 budget. As a side note, with the $214,000 increase to the airport levy, the levy increase is about $123,000 for operations and other levies. So again, we're looking at discussion of the public works garage, and then the amount to use for the public hearing and what to put in the resolution for December 15th.
So Kelly, the reason Mike and I decided to pull the public works garage out for now is that we don't think it would be wise to do $1 million project on a garage when we're in the middle of a discussion of how that department is gonna be organized for the next 50 years. So if we need a maybe bigger project, we just roll that in when we identify what public works is going to look like.
That makes perfect, it's just like the annex.
And Connie is partially correct when she says spending $1 million doesn't affect the budget. It doesn't affect the levy in 2025, 26, but over the long term, if you spend $1 million, that's $1 million you don't have that needs, out of levy dollars that you need to make up.
Unless you have interest.
So I think we should still not have the 784 and wait and see what the public works, as soon as we authorize it, they let a contract. I've seen it 1,000 times, Connie.
My question is, where should we put it? Should we just take it out completely? Should we move it to 28, 29, 2030, or just take it out completely? What would you propose? You know, like we move the bathrooms from one year to the next, thinking if we're doing something with the annex, maybe we can save having the same contractor, for example. What should we do with the public works garage? Move it to 29?
I think the public works garage is a valid project. The understanding of how the procedurally, we're going to have our departments make sense. But I think I would like to think there's efficiencies that could be had, and the configuration of the public works garage might be impacted by that. But I would think, I would just as soon keep it somewhere. Now, if it's next year and it has to be moved again, so be it.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't move it next year just to risk the WSN presentation before us, that they have all the 30% plans done and let's go. It happens, Connie. So let's just move it to 28 or 29 and we can move it back up when we identify what it needs to be.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Comment?
No, you answered my question.
Okay.
And then,
That's what I would do, and then it still shows out there, it's like the Gregory Park fountain. It's in the parks budget somewhere, we just don't know where, because it's flex budget.
what would you use for the levy for the budget public hearing? And therefore, I assume that this would be the amount that we would put in the resolution for the 15th meeting.
I like the 475.
I like the 475.
Okay. You don't want to go to 5, Gabe?
No, I kind of like the 475 about it over the weekend. That's good.
All right, 475 it is. Do you feel that we need to have another council meeting to discuss this, or we feel pretty comfortable with this and we're ready to move forward?
I'm comfortable. I don't think we need a motion out of this committee asking for another meeting, but the discussion upstairs could move in that direction. Yeah.
I agree with that.
That gives me direction. Thank you very much.
So Kelly, motion to present a 2026 levy with a 4.75 increase.
So move.
At $7,435,323.
So moved, seconded, and to move the 784,000 back to 2028.
Yes. Perfect.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.